Political bubbles.
I do feel like I live in a political bubble.
It's become safer to retreat into our own bubbles,
You're probably familiar with the term.
surrounded by people who share the same political outlook, especially our social media feeds.
But what if you're the odd one out? Is there an escape?
I definitely am a minority in terms of political views here.
People started finding my TikTok.
For these teens? Actually, yes.
Hey yo, California check.
I just make a TikTok about it, and I'd say that's a fairly safe way of coping with it.
This is Paul. He's a liberal 15-year-old living in South Carolina. He's, of course, too young to vote, but that's not stopping him from sharing his opinions.
South Carolina is majority conservative, of course, and generally speaking, it's no different where I live. I interact with Trump supporters on a daily basis.
Give me that. Fake news, fake news. No.
When you're stuck here, it's just something you have to deal with, and it's something you have to innovate.
Excuse me, do you know how to get to town?
Now with 130,000 followers, I get DMs from kids at my school on the daily. If I'm ever very frustrated about a conversation I had with a Trump supporter or a pro-life evolution denier Christian fundamentalist, I don't yell at them, I don't call them mean names, or I just make a TikTok about it.
Right away, come on.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, Kaylee finds herself in a liberal bubble.
A lot of the people who are more right-leaning tend to not vocalize their views as much because it's not the popular opinion in the area that we live in San Diego.
As a conservative gun-owning Trump supporter in California, Kaylee has used TikTok to learn more about politics and express her own political views.
You know you got everybody looking.
When you start talking about politics and you don't have the popular opinion, there is going to be people who disagree with you. People would say that they were going to find me and rape me, they hope I was raped, and then they said they were going to find where I live. People found out where I worked and it got brought into my workplace, and it was a lot.
So she went back and looked at some of her earlier TikToks and decided to change her tone.
Put myself on the other side's shoes, and if I were watching that, I wouldn't want to talk with that person either. I started making videos that were saying what I believed and then having conversations with people in the comments. I found that there was a lot more unity and more of an understanding. It kind of bridged a gap. We learned things that we didn't know about certain topics that we would talk about, whether it was like gun control or immigration, pro-life versus pro-choice.
Kaylee has also met people on TikTok who share her beliefs and live in her area, and now they spend their weekends together. Paul's made friends on the other side of the aisle too, but he is worried about going back to school once coronavirus restrictions are lifted.
Right now, I can talk the talk, right? I'm hiding behind a screen, I'm safe and sound within the confines of my home. It's gonna get a little more difficult running into people who directly disagree with me on a daily basis.
Laws in California that I think are stupid, part 1.
As for Kaylee, while she's making do in California, she's hoping to move to Nebraska next year.
And the people that I have met in Nebraska, they're a lot more open-minded and willing and open to having dialogue rather than seeing you for being a Republican or a Democrat or whatever else may be on the political spectrum.